Have you ever noticed that a lot of geopolitical experts sound intelligent right up until reality humiliates them? Suddenly, the same people who were confidently explaining the world last month are pretending nobody could have seen the shift coming, even when the larger pattern had been visible for years. And let me ask you something more direct. If the expert class is trained to explain yesterday's headline rather than read the deeper cycle that produced it, are they really experts on the future, or are they just highly paid interpreters of the recent past?
And if the Middle East keeps producing conflicts that are treated as shocking surprises, even though the region has been moving through long, recurring power transitions for decades, why are so many analysts still talking as if every explosion is an isolated event? The fact that US forces in the region were attacked more than 160 times by pro-Iranian militias in the first 4 months after October 7th, 2023, tells you immediately that the system was not stable, no matter how much people wanted to describe it that way. Stay with me for three reasons. First, I'm going to show you why mainstream expert culture has a built-in blind spot for long cycles. Second, I'll walk you through one big picture way of seeing the world in phases and why 2008 was a bigger crack in the system than many wanted to admit. And third, I'll show you why the chaos in the Middle East is not random, but follows a predictable rhythm of power vacuums and interventions. If conversations like this help you see the world more clearly, click like, subscribe, and share this video with other people who are tired of analysis that is always surprised by the present because it never really understood the past. Now let's reset the frame. The problem with most geopolitical analysis is not that the experts are unintelligent, it's that the game they play rewards them for explaining what just happened, not for seeing the bigger pattern. It's like being a chef, paid only to describe the taste of today's soup, never to look at the recipe that's been bubbling on the stove for a week. They can tell you if it's salty today, but have no idea if it's about to boil over tomorrow. This traps them in a narrow tunnel where they only see what's right in front of them, completely missing the cliff the road is leading to. That's why they're often great at describing the weather, but terrible at recognizing the climate. A missile strike, a protest, a broken treaty, these are all treated as separate clouds in the sky, not as signs of a coming hurricane. They're always one step behind, explaining why the domino fell instead of seeing whose hand was about to push it. Think of it like a heart monitor for the world. There's a real measurable chart that tracks global stress called the Geopolitical Risk Index. And that chart shows that ever since the big financial crash in 2008, the world's heart rate has been spiking. It's not just a bad day, it's a chronic condition. It's like what the philosopher Thomas Kuhn pointed out about how ideas change. Imagine a whole town of map makers whose reputation is built on one single map. When a massive earthquake changes the landscape, they'll be the last to admit their map is useless. They'll keep defending it, pointing to the one or two roads that are still there until everyone else can see they're lost. The people who build careers explaining a world with one superpower are often the slowest to admit that the structure itself has changed. There are people who try to look at the bigger map. One is an analyst named Art Berman, who sees the world since World War II as a story in 4 chapters. From 1945 to 1971, it was a two-player game, the US and the Soviet Union. From 1972 to 1991, the oil crisis changed the money game. From 1992 to 2008, America was the undisputed king of the hill, the world's only superpower. And since 2008, we've been in the 4th chapter, a free-for-all, where new players are challenging the old king. Now, you don't have to treat this like gospel. The point isn't the formula, it's the asterisk approach. Asterisk, it's about seeing the world in seasons, instead of just a jumble of random days. And it lines up with what many others see. Even the big money people at S&P Global have research pointing to the 2008 financial crisis as the moment the music stopped for that big global party. That's the big picture too many experts keep missing. We aren't living through a bunch of unrelated accidents. We're living through a power shift, away from a world with one boss and toward one that is more competitive and less forgiving. The Geopolitical Risk Index doesn't lie. Global stress is the new normal. Pretending this is temporary is not realism. It is intellectual laziness with better tailoring. Nowhere is this blindness more obvious than in the Middle East. They sell us a story that the Middle East is like a box of fireworks where any random spark can set something off. But it's not random. It's more like a recurring play where the actors change, but the script of power, collapse, and war repeats itself. Act 1. After the old European empires crumbled, you had big state-on-state wars from 1948 to 1973, as everyone fought to draw new lines on the map. Then came the next act, with the Iran-Iraq War and the 1991 Gulf War, which ended with America as the new sheriff in town, keeping a tense quiet. That illusion of control should have been shattered for anyone paying attention. The 2003 invasion of Iraq was like the sheriff kicking down a door, only to get stuck in the house as it caught on fire. It proved that having the biggest gun doesn't mean you can control the outcome. It was a clear warning that the one sheriff town wasn't as stable as it looked. Then came 2011. The Arab Spring didn't create peace, it opened the door for civil wars and proxy fights. And when Russia waltzed onto the stage in Syria in 2015, that was the moment the curtain officially fell on the era of a single, uncontested American-led order. It was a hard reality check. Analysts at places like the RAND Corporation saw it clearly. Moscow wasn't just helping a friend, it was changing the entire game board in its favor. So when people now act shocked that the war in Gaza, the actions of Hezbollah, the Houthi attacks in the Red Sea, and tensions with Iran are all connected, they are showing that they still want to believe the old order is intact. It is not. It's like when a queen bee dies. The whole hive goes crazy. The chaos doesn't stay in one part of the hive. It spills over everywhere. Once the old center weakens, conflict no longer stays in one neat box. If this is helping you see the pattern, click like, subscribe, and share this video with someone tired of commentary that treats every crisis as a new mystery. So let me bring this home. Why do geopolitical experts miss the big picture? Because they get paid for today's weather report, not for predicting the climate for the next 10 years. It's safer to explain yesterday's rain than to warn about the coming hurricane. When you live in that world long enough, you start mistaking constant explanation for true understanding. The Middle East is a brutal case study in this failure. It is not random, it is not disconnected, it is one of the clearest arenas where global fragmentation, proxy warfare, and the decline of a one superpower world have been colliding for years. The people still treating each flare-up as a surprise are not seeing the region more clearly. They are seeing time more narrowly. That is the real blind spot. And that is why the so-called experts are so often trapped inside frameworks too small for the age they are trying to interpret. If this gave you a sharper way to think about our world, click like, subscribe, and share it. And if you want deeper conversations about geopolitics, historical cycles, Period 9, and how to read the larger pattern instead of drowning in daily noise, join the Destiny Architect Telegram chat where we continue these discussions.